I was in a farmhouse B&B in Germany, and there was a circular bath on a pedestal in the middle of this huge bathroom. My wife was helping me try and get poo out my bum with a spoon. I mean, I won't ever forget that.
He told the story deadpan to a room of people in a fancy hotel of a guest of Mercedes AMG at the Spa Grand Prix.
That's right.
I remember thinking, this has got out of control, I'm going to bed now.
I didn't tell the glory holding story the same night.
I think you did, yeah.
At Kiel Services.
Yeah. I think Halloway was just speechless.
You join us on the Late Break Show with Chris Harris. Who I've written down ex-Autocar, ex-Drivers Republic, ex-Evo, ex...
Yeah. Like you, I've done the rounds, mate.
Yeah.
I'm a well-worn object.
I'm trying to remember the first time that I actually met you. It was a while ago. I think you were on Autocar.
I would have been. I was there for quite a while. Although my stint as a staff member, there wasn't as long as probably I remember. I was only there for 3 or 4 years, and then I went freelance. But I sort of did one of those deals where you leave and then they let you carry on working there as a freelancer.
Well, they're the best.
But for more money.
Yes, they just don't pay your life insurance.
Well, basically you have this awful realisation that you could have earned a lot more a lot sooner in your life. Why did I stay there as a staff member?
Yeah, yeah. You had a crash in one of those, didn't you?
Yeah, big stack.
Like a T-bone scenario.
Yeah, we came round a corner. I had a friend in the car. I'd come round the corner and blind corner on an A road, and a guy was doing a 3-point turn in the middle. Literally was perpendicular to me, so there was no way of avoiding it. I did my best. I got as much speed off as I could, and we weren't going that fast. But when you come around a blind corner, you've got
it was a pickup or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a pickup. 30, 40 yards of visibility. You come around a corner, you're doing 55, 45, probably 55 miles an hour. And we must have gone in at 40. Probably. That's a big hit into a solid object. And the car took it really well, but it was absolutely wrecked. And the bags went off, and we all took a bit of a knock inside. It was a real lesson in just how good modern cars are. Yeah. Everything slows down. I've had a lot of shunts over the years.
Have you?
And,
obviously one of my
on the
questions.
road, but mostly in race cars on tracks and sort of filming on tracks.
I have to say, I am a little jealous because this is probably one of my favourite spec 911s. I've never owned a 911. I missed the boat.
You haven't. You will have one. There's no boat to be missed. There's lots of 911s out there. I've owned, I don't know, 20 911s probably. 20? Yeah, at least. Wow. Maybe more. I've had everything.
How many cars have you actually had? It's got to be. Have had loads.
It must be over 100. I would have thought.
Yeah.
So 911 for me. I've had a few turbos. I've had a few other GT3s, and I've had lots of older cars, G series, older cars, and that. And the thing I love about this is I love the fact it's a simple shape without spoilers.
Yeah.
So on the road, it's got the wide body of an RS, but without any of the wings. So I like it's discreet. Then I've had a yellow one, which I know does sort of undo the discreetness of it. But it works in yellow for me for some reason.
I think it looks great.
It's a manual gearbox. It's normally aspirated. It's already too fast for the road, but it's always exciting. And it's a car that actually offers something at low speed. I feel good in it, and I like driving it at low speed. You're always busy. In a manual gearbox car, even if you're just pootling along, you can play games with your own brain, can't you? You can try and, that gear shift, I can make that slightly better. So there's always something to do.
Yeah. How does it compare to your GT3 4-litre?
Oh, this shit's all over it.
Does it?
Yeah, people look at those things through rose-tinted specs. It's a great car, 4-litre, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But this engine's different grade. It rests to 9 grand on the road.
Sugar.
So I sound so bunged up, by the way. I've got a little puppy in there who I love to bits, but he's an English Bull Terrier, and he headbutted me last week and has broken the inside of my nose. So that's why I sound incredibly bunged up.
His own dog broke his own nose.
So that is the holy grail for me. That's done nearly 30,000 miles. I do almost all my mileage in this car. I absolutely love it. It's my home. It's got food, detritus, dog bits.
It does look bad, doesn't it?
And
I'm not going to lie.
The whole point. Look, open the door. Come on, let's see. Just show you.
It does look quite ropey.
I'll horrify the Porsche Cognoscenti now. Have a look at the passenger seat.
Well, look at the road dirt for a start.
So this will be horrified. Here we go.
Chris.
So look, dog paw prints.
There's a dog bed in the passenger seat.
There he is.
Dog bed. No, the dog's just ruining it.
No, he's not. It's just a car. You just washed that. He's not eating anything, has he? What you can't see is that my mate James Walker from TI22 Detailing
Is crying in the background?
There he is. All right, Pip Dog. Is crying in the background because he's the one that looks after this thing. So.
That's dirty. It's dirty. That's really good. Proper noise. That's good. First crash.
Mini 998 into a tree sapling, North Somerset. Did quite a bit of damage, and the seat, I had put 2 Corbeau buckets in, as you did in your Mini back in the early 90s, but the seat runners were crap, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the impact wasn't huge, but it damaged it wrecked the left rear of the car, but the whole seat runner failed.
Oh.
And I ended up sort of in the passenger seat, I think.
But it just
the whole thing just detached itself, and I was just lying in the seat. I say this now, I don't ever want to glorify crashes, and I think it's a tricky subject. We're recording this the day after Paddy's Lamborghini crash has gone out on the telly. I think we dealt with it in quite a sensible way. You know, we had a chuckle about it afterwards, but at the time, the first thing you do is make sure everyone's okay. Then you can have a look at the car and come to terms with the fact that it's just a piece of bent metal. Ultimately, it's just some metal that was dragged out of the ground and shaped into something quite exotic, but it is ultimately just metal. And once you've done that, you can then turn around and take the piss. But you've got to get those other things out of the way before you take the piss.
Yeah, I had the piss taken out of me for several years.
Well, I'm not going to go. I know this is you asking me questions, but you know the Viper incident did the rounds quite quickly in journalistic circles,
didn't it? Just
yeah,
and the name associated with it.
But you know what? I admitted on a podcast I spun a Viper. I had the previous generation GTS, and I remember would have been 2000 probably.
Yeah.
And I remember, was that the same?
One was 05, so
yes,
SRT10.
Yeah, so this was the first gen GTS. Yeah. And I took it home from the office, and I was on the Clapham one-way system. And back then the tyre technology was terrible.
And they were that wide.
Yeah, and I was trying to literally manoeuvre around the one-way system at 25 miles an hour. I spun it in first gear, just rotated.
You've heard it from the man who can properly drive.
Happens very easily.
I'm going to do some quicker fire questions because we can sit in these beautiful chairs, which you haven't even commented on.
They're just really comfy.
They are.
They looked right.
Well, my wife's just glad.
If you were to do a DNA swab of that gaffer tape, what would come back from it?
That's probably some food. It's foodstuffs. My kids have destroyed these. I was quite proud of these about 6 years ago.
They've had a life.
Seen some action, these chairs,
They've had a life. Yeah.
And I brought them for you today.
You did. They came in the back of a Jimny, which was quite a bizarre sight, really.
Yeah, I don't know how they got in there. You know, you're a pretty hot, accomplished driver. How did you get those skills? Do you come from a family where, someone taught you to drive?
I had my late Ma was a autocross and rally driver, so she was handy, really handy. So I used to sit and watch her.
Wow.
And that taught me a couple of things. First, that car control is something you can learn, but you do need to have an innate feel for a vehicle. It also taught me never to underestimate a female driver. Yeah. I've never really got the women driver gag because from a very young age I realised that within my family unit it was my mother that could really pedal, not my father.
Right.
And I learned from some really good people. I was very lucky. I turned up to Autocar, and Steve Sutcliffe was the road test editor, who is one of the preeminent driver journalists of any generation.
Yeah.
And I got to sit and watch him and listen to him. And the learning curve under him was so much steeper than anywhere else, and I was just super lucky. But I don't see myself as being that special at all. I think so many people in my position would have ended up in the same position as me if they could have had that level of just intense tutoring. I used to go down to Chobham to the old test track, and Steve would be there filming a car, and he'd say, "Come down in another car and just go around that corner and just slide the car around.
And just keep trying that corner.
Keep doing it, and I'll sit. And when I'm not doing that shot, I'll come over and sit next to you. It's amazing. So I've always done quite a bit to try and help other people younger than me to learn those skills, because I was lucky enough to have someone do it to me.
I've got a question that was phoned in.
Go on.
By my friend and your friend Rich Porter.
Oh God, here we go.
I'm going to put it on. I'll put it on. You'll hear it from there, I think.
Hello Chris, it's Richard Porter, Jonny's colleague from the Smith and Sniff podcast. I have a question for you.
Have you got a podcast?
The question is this. Yeah. Would you rather drive from your house to the south of France in an E39 M5 full of influencers, or on your own in an Austin Maxi? Bye.
Just trying to lure me into
That's a question.
into subject matter. Right. Okay.
We have got a podcast, you know.
Have you?
It's doing all right,
Is
Chris.
it?
Yeah, it doesn't make any money, but it's successful on.
It's the story of our lives.
Yeah, I
isn't it?
was going to say people seem to like it.
So
So a good car, well, car.
no, it's not a good car. It's an E39 M5. So it's a transcends good car. It's a great car.
Okay.
Do you know what? I'd go in the M5 because as a one-off, I'd want to hear their stories. I'd want to listen to what they're doing. And I do like learning from these people because they're doing something that I'm not doing and they're good at it, all right? And they're engaging with an audience that I'm not engaging with. So I get it. A lot of what they do I find tricky because I don't like it.
Yeah.
But they're doing something new and I'm interested in that. So on the journey down to the south of France, I get to learn all about it. On the way back, I'd probably not be able to do it. So I'd go down in the M5, but on the way back, I think I'd have had my fill of them and I'd go back in the Maxi.
I just want to see you go into the south of France
Just be sitting
in a
there.
Maxi, and people will go past and go, "Is that the guy from Top Gear driving a beige BL piece of dirt?"
I like the fact it's a Maxi, not an Allegro as well, because the Land Crab would at least ride well.
And it's 5-speed.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, for the touring.
I'm not as good on my BL as you and Richard, but I'm not bad.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right.
But I.
You're not naughty.
God,
What's the naughtiest car you've got? Like, what I want to know what a guilty pleasure car you have that you don't own, maybe.
There's a few.
Like filthy, awful. A car that you'd get laughed at.
Oh, I'm sure there's several. I do like a lot of like R129 SLs. I love those. Like I nearly bought a sort of dark metallic red, but with a bit of pink in it, that SL colour.
Yeah.
And it was a 280. It wasn't even a 320. Beige interior.
Oh, so a proper slow one.
Oh, I'd love one of those. Happy drive. I've got a W124 cab.
This is the car that I really remember you for,
Yeah.
because a lot of stuff has come and gone since you bought this.
I bought this in, I think I bought it in 06.
Yeah.
I bought it from the then publisher of Unity Publishing. I think I bought it blind, that's why I even saw it. Because it's one of the cars I always wanted. So 205 Rally, this, and Testarossa or 512 TR were the ones I always wanted.
Yeah.
And this is, it's a sensational car. What this was like in 1986, I do not know. Still feels fast now. I followed my mate driving it yesterday and I was in the touring. And when he went for it, I'm like, well, I couldn't get past you, I don't think.
Really?
No, initially,
I've never driven
ultimately
one.
you would.
I've
286
been out in a
horse-
535i M, whatever you call it, but that's not quite the same, is it?
Oh, no, this is really fast.
Yeah.
286 horsepower and it weighs what? Under 1,600 kilograms. It's
Does
fast,
it?
fast car. And in 1986, there was nothing. It'd take care of a 3.2 Carrera quite easily. And it just looks like a taxi.
Yeah, I know. That's what's really cool about it.
Yeah. There she is.
Oh, you beast.
Proper car.
Yeah.
This is quite a good car. I mean, I own some crap, but this is a nice shell. Engine's in great nick. Goes really well. Again, I'm not plugging rally prep more than I should, but Neil does a great job. So rather than go for sort of having it, all the bodywork done, it's covered in scratches and scrapes and stone chips because it gets used.
Yeah.
But I said to Neil Yates, do me a favour, rebuild the diff and rebush all the suspension. Take it all off, rebuild the whole lot, and he did the whole lot. It wasn't cheap, but if you look underneath, it's much nicer than it is on top. And the way the car rides and handles and steers now is just a joy. Just feels like it's out the factory.
It's a cool thing.
If I don't have attachments to inanimate objects, this is probably as close.
Is it?
Yeah, this is a special car.
So keeper.
Well, where would I get another one from?
I don't bloody know.
And I normally,
especially right-hand drive one.
Most of the stories that I tell about cars and ownership experiences and the finances around them are all horror stories, because horror stories make for much better narratives because they're much funnier. So I did buy a 993 GT2 for, I sold a 993 GT2 for 130 grand, 140 grand. That car's now worth $1 million. I had a 993 RS that I sold for 60 that's probably worth 300. I've got endless Porsches that have gone like that.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff I buy goes down because I'm an idiot. And because I don't care. I don't buy them to go up in value. I buy them to tick the box.
You've owned a Phantom quite recently.
Yeah, that
haven't
was a bit of a horror, that was.
Was it?
Yeah, I love the car. but the power steering pump went. It was a BMW part, but they wouldn't let me buy the BMW part. I had to buy the Rolls-Royce part. That was thousands. Then a fuel pump went, which is just off a 760, but they wouldn't let me put the 760 part on. I had to put the Rolls-Royce part on. Thousands. I mean, anything goes wrong, it's 5,000-10,000 straight away. I mean, I think I spent 15, 20 grand on it.
What?
Yeah, it was a lot of money, but I loved it. We had a Phantom for a year. I used to go camping with the kids in it and stuff. We used to play. It was a silly time. It was good fun. There was a summer we had it. We used to play the Jungle Book as loud as possible with the windows down. Bristol. We used to drive around with "I Want to Be Like You," ooh, ooh, all singing it together.
And the Phantom.
Yeah, but I think my kids will look back on it and say, "What was that all about?" But it was great fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to see whether you could run one half sensibly, and the answer was no, you can't. You really can't.
So all of that was just for an experiment.
Well, James, who's there, he used to winter over in his place. And the other thing is storing one's a nightmare because you've got to rent 2 spaces because it's so big.
It's massive. But then didn't you have a Bentley?
I bought a Mulsanne after that,
Yeah.
which I loved, and that didn't go wrong at all.
Okay.
It wasn't as stupidly majestic, but it was a much more rigorously engineered machine.
Okay.
I love that. But I had that for a year, and I just got the heebie-jeebies about the world changing a bit, and thought, if I get stuck with this, it could cost me a load of money. But that was a gorgeous car. That was a different proposition. That didn't miss a beat.
If it wasn't cars, what the hell would you be doing?
Oh, I've got no idea, dude. No idea. I love cricket.
Yes, you do, which is great. When Freddie started presenting.
So I now have to work with my cricketing hero and take the piss out of him, which is difficult because I sort of stop and think, ultimately, you're my hero. So I don't know. I have no idea what I'd be doing. Like you, I love cars. It's all I ever wanted to do is be involved in cars. It'd be something involving cars. But if cars didn't exist, I'd have to find a passion.
Do you do anything when you're not, apart from being a dad?
I like playing golf. I like walking a lot. Do a lot of walking.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't see you as a walker.
No, I love walking. I like, so I'm very conflicted. So if I'm out walking in the middle of nowhere and 3 lads come past on enduro bikes on a path that I know they shouldn't be on, I'm hugely conflicted. I get my walking head goes, "You shouldn't be here," and I get a bit Rohan beige trousered about it. But the other part of my brain goes, "Get it on the back wheel, son. Let's see what that EXC KTM can do." So I ride motorcycles as well, and I like riding a bike at the weekends. But I tend to ride the bike quite slowly because I don't need to go out and purge myself of a terrible office job that's frustrating me.
Because you've just been around the track all day.
Because I've been rinsing cars and whatever all week.
Yeah.
But I don't really wash cars. I just use them.
You're not a worshipper in that respect.
No, not at all. I mean, sometimes it's quite nice to have a car clean, and motorcycles actually I quite like them being clean. That's a written off.
I was going to say, it looks a bit broken.
So that's the one that got written off last summer, which has now been bought from the insurance company, and my mate Shippy has repaired it, because the only thing that wrote it off was that the mount where the steering damper comes off the front of the frame had sheared. That wrote it off. So we bought it back from the insurance company. That's going to be a track bike, but he's done a great job. But it's looking a bit ropey at the moment.
It does look a bit ropey, but you didn't fall off it.
It looks like full estate spec, doesn't it? You'd see it on police camera.
Police
interceptors on its back wheel, getting away from the police at speed.
With no lights.
Yeah.
When you found out you were going to become a parent
for
the first time, what was your family car choice?
Well, I was fully magazine zoned then. So I think you're just eating, my dog's just eating the past shelf of my...
it really is, yeah.
No, there we go.
I can't help feeling that we are on the set of Snatch.
He did the gear lever, he did the handbrake on my M2 comp the other day. Just chewed that off.
It's going to cost you a lot of money, that bloody dog.
I don't mind. Dog's more important than cars. Oh, so the car choice is interesting. I was a magazine journalist then, and long-term cars were your thing. I didn't really have a car of my own, an estate car.
Yeah.
And Rob Halloway at Mercedes lent me on a 6-month loan a C55 estate, quite a rare thing back then.
Yeah.
And that's what I had. That's what I collected my firstborn from the hospital in. I always remember how special that car was.
Do any of your kids like cars? Have any of your
They
offspring...
do in their own way, but they don't. But they view the motor car as the thing that's denied time with their father, I think. So probably they have a more complicated relationship with it than I do. Right. But they do like cars.
Yeah.
And like during the lockdown, my M5, that fake M5 Touring I've got, was, you know, on sort of doing crazy things duty, and my eldest, who's 15, had his first sort of good driving experiences in the field. It was a good way to start, isn't it?
That's pretty cool.
Going sideways in a field. In
Grassy skids.
Yeah, that's it. So they do like cars, but not the way I do. You know, the way we like cars is not healthy, and it's not normal.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't encourage them to have an affliction
Yeah.
as opposed to a hobby. This is not a hobby anymore. This is
No,
become
it's
something-
gone over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. It's my perfect car. And strangely, you finish a day's filming in a car that's 4 times the value and is unobtainium and is got more power and it's faster and everything. And you get back in this and you just think, I don't envy anyone really. This is the only
Satisfying drive.
It's the only car I need. And I've never finished a journey and thought, that was a bit dull.
Yard of dreams.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, it is the whole point.
'Cause I was going to build a proper shed, but I don't really want a purpose-built shed. I want a series of rickety old original buildings that I throw stuff in, really.
Yeah. Imagine if it sort of ended tomorrow and you hit really hard times. All of this lot has to go.
Yeah,
You know, it's bad.
yeah,
One car,
yeah.
less than $2,000 to just live with. What would you do?
I'd get probably a first-generation Ford Focus,
Yeah.
probably the little 1.6, which was the better engine.
The Z-Tech.
Yeah, and I'd buy it for buttons. You can probably get them for 500 quid, can't you? Quite a good one.
You can.
Then I'd just make sure all the suspension was absolutely mint. Get it all rebushed. Make sure the arms are good at the back, because I still think the first gen Ford Focus is the best little hatchback I've ever driven.
It's incredible.
It's much better than all the current ones to drive, and I'd be very happy with that. So with the extra 500 quid, I could keep it going for a while. But that's what I'd have. And to come back to the getting rid of everything, I don't have any attachment to material objects really. I mean, I've got 2 CVs is quite special, and there's a couple of cars that I like because I have memories of doing things in them, and because I know that my children like them. But actually, for me, everything could go tomorrow. If you turn around to me and said you've got to sell your Touring tomorrow, or the bank's got to take it from me, I just go, well, it's a car. I don't. There's other cars. I don't really.
Quite matter of fact.
Sometimes I have to work myself up to build an attachment with them. I don't cherish them in that way.
Yeah.
It's strange. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I would miss some of them. I'd miss that E28 M5. I'd miss terribly. But lots of stuff has gone down in value, but I don't care because I had the experience.
Yeah.
I've got shots of me drifting my own 993 GT2. I've got shots of me drifting my own 996 GT2. Several GT3s, and I love all that stuff, and I have got driving memories of friends and family and kids in all of those cars and dogs and what have you, and I cherish those, and they absolutely offset the fact that I wasn't the one that made whatever. Who cares about money? I'm not really interested. But this is the one car that's actually done me all right. This old
Out of
soldier,
all of them?
I think this was £7,000 or £8,000.
Okay.
And I think it's probably worth more than that now.
Oh, I think
Everything else
has to.
goes the other way with me. But arguably my favourite car, actually has looked after me.
Is there one car that if you could bring back, reverse the process, and go, yeah, actually, I'm not going to sell that. It doesn't have to be for monetary reasons.
There's a very, very simple answer. 3.2 Carrera Club Sport,
Right.
which someone told me they knew the chap that owned it. If you own that car, you're lucky. I love that car. They're funny cars, those Club Sports. On paper, they're just a 3.2 Carrera with a hollow valve stems. That's about it. But there's something about the way they drive. And it was my first ever Porsche, and I sold it for the stamp duty on my third house. That was it. Not third at the same time. The third house I'd ever bought.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the same price. The stamp duty was exactly what I sold it for. So I effectively gave, at the time, Gordon Brown my Club Sport.
How many cars have you got right now, actually?
I don't know.
Oh, it's that bad, is it?
Yeah.
The addiction is real.
Oh yeah, at least 20 I would have thought.
Really?
But you say cars.
You bad bastard.
No, but there's probably more than that. But half of them will be rubbish. You know, they're just French rubbish in a shed.
Yeah. So cars, they don't have to be running and driving.
Chickens living in them and stuff. I mean,
what, like spare donor cars for the other cars?
So what do you count? If you count a car as being something you could get in and drive tomorrow, yeah, probably not 20. but I've got
Maybe half of 20.
But the joy is almost exclusively in the rubbish for me.
Yeah.
Okay, this is probably you can't call this rubbish.
This
now.
is not rubbish.
But some of it, like some of the 205s, they're just joyous little shit boxes that I really enjoy, and I still have a passion for the new stuff, but I'm struggling a bit because my job is to convey passion around machinery. And if you give me a £500,000 Ferrari, and I'm there going, I don't mean I'm over it. I just mean I don't know I don't know how to contextualise this.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with 1,000. I'm a bit conflicted. What do you do with 1,000 horsepower on the road?
Yeah.
This has got 286 horsepower, and on a day like today,
you'll be snaky.
will be a proper handful. So what do you do with 1,000 horsepower?
Yeah.
I've never done this before. I've never allowed anyone anywhere near my cars like this. So it's actually been quite cathartic and rather nice.
Well, thank you for inviting me over to...
Best of luck with the channel. Best of luck with the new name. Keep doing it. Keep being slightly left of centre, because you do that very well. And when your Hillman Avenger, what's the special edition called? Hillman Avenger?
BRM.
BRM. When that's done, I'm driving that.
I think you'd like... You tell you who you should take out in it. If it ever comes to fruition, it probably won't. Paddy.
It's him in a car, isn't it?
Because Paddy had an Avenger, didn't he?
He did.
Take him out in it and tear him a new one.
Yeah, I better go do some work.
Yeah. Thank you ever so much for watching the Late Break Show. And thank you to Chris Harris for letting me bend your ear. Well, you bent mine as well, actually. We've got bent ears.
I think I was slightly on transmit, so I talked to you.
And his dog's broken his nose. It's not the best of days for you, is it?
Oh, he's hit me hard. There we go.